All right, guys. Hope everyone's having a fantastic week. I'm having a great day. And I'm going to share an important topic with all you small business owners, entrepreneur, and salespeople. That's my target audience. The topic I'm going to share, it came about earlier today when I was cold calling and I was prospecting, and I was asked a question by a prospect who wants to potentially hire my company to help him with sales. And so what he asked me was, Paul, what can I do to grow not only my business, but to change the culture? And that's it. That's an interesting question because I've never been asked, what can I do to change the culture, even though I wind up helping my clients by default changing the culture. Okay? Now, here's what I mean. In order to change the culture of your business, it's very, very important that you understand several things. But before I get into it, I just want to share something with you. One of the things that I've trained myself over the years to be aware about or be aware of is my environment, my physical environment and my mental environment. Why is that important? Because your environment dictates a lot of your outcome. It just does, right? So if you can't change the environment, then you have to leave that environment. Okay? So one of the things that I mentioned to this prospect was there's actually four steps that as a business owner and an entrepreneur, you either have to develop and be conscious of it and be aware of it, or you have to make the changes on these four steps. And it's not easy because it takes a lot of humility to do that. Okay, so I did put a title, and I also put what I'm going to be talking about. The number one thing that I recommended to this prospect is that they need to examine themselves. Or for you out there, as an entrepreneur, small business owner, you have to examine yourself. And what do I mean by that? When every 3,000 miles or every 6 months, you have to change the oil in your car, right? And once a year, you have to give your car a full tune-up, right? Well, why do you do that? Because if you don't take care of it and you don't maintenance it, the car will not work for you. It will break down eventually, right? So why not examine yourself? It sounds simple, but if you really think about it, what do you mean? Well, you got to examine everything about yourself. The environment in your business, how did that environment come about? You got to examine decisions you make, how you go about those decisions. You got to examine the actions you've taken, good, bad, or different. You got to look at things objectively because the hardest thing for us to do is to admit when we're wrong. But if you're determined to change the environment in your business or change the culture, which is difficult to do, it takes a lot of work. And the work starts with you. See, myself as a business owner and entrepreneur, I know I set the tone for everything in my business. I know I set the tone for every relationship I may have and develop. From my clients to people I hire to vendors to partners, it doesn't matter what it is or who they are, I set the tone. I develop and set the environment. Why? Because I examine myself. I examine my process. I examine all those things. But the number one thing that I examine first and foremost is my character. Is who I am, what I'm all about. Because as I mentioned many times before, and those of you who follow me know I talk a lot about this. When the smoke clears, all the money in the world, all the wealth, all the material things don't mean jack diddle if your word and your character is not right. And that is part of examining yourself. Okay, the second thing that I mentioned to this prospect and that I do for myself, everything I'm sharing with you, I do it myself. I don't like to speak about a topic that I don't actually live or do on a daily basis. Does that make sense? So the second thing you need to do is you need to examine your mindset. Mindset is everything. Now, what is a mindset? Mindset is what enters into your mind, your thoughts. And you can either have the right mindset or the wrong mindset. I call it the cause. Because in life, there's two things. There's cause and effects. There's nothing in between. Something happens, something caused it to happen. Whether it was because of you or not. There's always cause and effects. So the mindset that you have is the cause of everything else. And that's part of examining yourself. You got to examine your mindset. How you think is the cause. It's like, selling is the cause. And the effect is the sales, right? Does that make sense? Cause and effects. Selling is a mindset. Closing is an attitude. So you have to examine your mindset. This is what I told the prospect. These are simple things. Yet, unfortunately, people don't like simplicity. Why? Because people act on emotions a majority of the time. So you got to examine your mindset. Why? Because number 3 is you have to examine your attitude. You see, attitude is the effect of the mindset, which is the cause. Now, the attitude is the action. And your attitude influences people and prospect and vendor and partner and husband and wives and children and uncles. It influences people. And so your attitude is the action of your mindset. So if you don't examine your mindset, you're not going to examine your attitude. Here's the thing is, people always focus on the problem. Something happens, they just focus on that it consumes them. And it puts pressure on people. And it stresses people out. Why? Because they're focusing on the problem, which is the attitude, and not the cause of that attitude or that problem, which is the mindset. So you got to examine your attitude. And here's one final reason why you should do that. Because attitude is contagious. Is your attitude worth catching? That is part of the development and developing an environment, whether it's at home or in your business. Here's another example. There's a difference between a home and a house. A house is the physical aspect of it. The home is how you feel inside when you go visit somebody. Or when they come visit you. Does it feel homely? Does people feel welcome, right? There's a big difference. So you got to examine your attitude. And what is the fourth one? And this is all interact. You got to examine your thoughts. What do you mean by thoughts? Well, your actions are tied to your thoughts. And your thoughts come from your mind, right? So if something enters your mind and you don't address it, if it's a bad thought and you don't address it and change it, that thought that entered your mind is going to lead to the action, which is the attitude, which is going to produce the results. So your thoughts are very important. You got to examine that. I know it sounds crazy, But if you want to change the culture and you want to change the environment, not only of your business, of your family, but you want to change the environment in your mind and in yourself, these are the things you have to examine. And it's not once in a while that you should do it like a car where you do it every 6 months and every year. You should be examining that every single day. And here are the results if you do that consistently and make a conscious effort. Is not only does your business grow financially, not only does your value grow as an entrepreneur and a business owner, but you grow as a person. You become valuable to people. People are going to want to be around you. They're going to want to be part of what you're doing because they like your environment. That's important. That's just basic. You know? And you know, I could go into business and know if the environment is right or not. And it all starts with the person at the top. And this is something that you can do, but here's what it's going to take for you to do it. And it's something that's against nature or human nature. You have to be humble. You just have to be humble. You have to be willing to make that change. You have to be willing to want to make that change, to really deeply examine yourself, examine your mindset, examine your attitude, examine your thoughts. It's free. And it's the most valuable thing you can do for yourself. Because all the material things don't matter. All the material things come from how you think and the actions you take or don't take, right? Does that make sense? So anyway, just want to share that with you. That's one of the conversations I had with a prospect today. So I figure, you know, it was a really interesting topic. I spoke with him because it was something I never spoke to a prospect about on a call. So I'm glad he asked me that question, and I'm glad I was able to address this because I was able to share this with you guys. So if you like this topic and you like this live streaming, do me a favor and share your comment. Let me know what you think. And I appreciate your time, and I hope everyone continues to have a very successful week. Good night, guys.